mentioned this to a student group last year. You know, the fold. And I intentionally use that phrase. You need to learn about paper. So anyway, they had to be above the fold. And why was that a rule? Because it was important. I mean, these, you know, in a newspaper, certain headlines that make it above the fold are important. So those are the pages I saved, the ones that had a headline above the fold. Then I went back to the newspapers and I looked at all of the news photographs in the paper. So if the two of you have been photographed for some august accomplishment, but the two of you have been walking by, the two people walking by in the background are my subjects. They're the passers-by, they're the found subjects, they're the unintentional subjects. And for me, they became, metaphorically, the victims. People we don't know, individuals, they're real people. I didn't invent them, they are real people. Tragedies occurred. Were they to have died, they had families, they would be mourned, but they were unknown. So I would have my stack of pages with my headlines, and I cut out those little passers-by. Usually, I shouldn't have this in. Usually, the photographs would be this big. Because, you know, think of a news photo. It's very rare that a news photo is big in a newspaper. So that's the news photo. You're in the front, and these are these two little people in the background. So go through the whole newspaper and cut out all those found folks. And I have a stack of those in my studio on my table. And then I begin to draw. So I take a page that has a headline, cut my pot of ink and my brush. When I should tell you, early on, because I did so many of these, I didn't even clean my brush at the end of the day, which is a big no-no. I just left it in the ink because I knew the next thing was going to be tomorrow. I now clean the brush at the end of the day. But I begin by like this. Okay, this is virtual. This is my idea of being virtual. Piece of paper, my ink, my brush. I begin by redacting. Another term we heard a lot about, not necessarily related to COVID, redaction. So I'm looking at the newspaper, what am I redacting? Well, I want my headline to be prominent. The headline has to do with the pandemic. But, you know, there are other headlines in the paper. So I would eliminate those. And if there was a photograph of someone well known, I'd do some marks on that photo because I didn't want people to look at those. It's about the portrait of this person that I'm making. That's the focal of the drawing. And then I would begin to draw. So early in the pandemic, a person was dying every 5 minutes. Therefore, I could not spend more than 5 minutes on a drawing. That was the other in my process. No more than 5 minutes. I had a little egg timer, a 3-minute egg timer. So for the first few, I would, but after I had done a dozen, I knew what 5 minutes was. And often they didn't last 5 minutes. Often they were shorter than 5 minutes. Because remember my subject is this big. I'm hoping, if you would like to see me do a drawing, you're not going to see it. You could go to YouTube and you could look up Nicholas Hill pandemic portraits to YouTube, and you'll see me doing a drawing in my studio. Because when I first showed these, somebody wanted a video of me doing it. And I said, no, nobody ever watches me work in my studio. It's not going to happen. And I kept getting these requests, and finally, sideline. I'm married to a psychologist, which has kept me sane for many, many years. And she is in her study working, and I'm in my studio. So I was working in the studio one day, and I thought, if I'm going to be videoed, it's going to happen now, and it has to be Laura who does it. So I went into her study, and I said, please come out to the studio and make a video of me right now. And we'd had these conversations, so she knew this was the time. So she came out. I said nothing. She said nothing. If you watch the video and you listen closely, you'll hear the brush marks. That's all you'll hear. It's not like a musical background. And I think that drawing is like 3.5 minutes or 4 minutes. That's what it is in the video. So I draw and I finish, and then I take another piece of paper and I take another portrait from I do another one depending on how many I have. Now, on any given day, early on, I might have 10 pages. Let's say 6 with font order. So I can do 6. I've got a little backlog of pages, and it could work the other way. More portraits and pages, whatever. That's the way my day begins. Every day has been doing so. And I have finished is not the right word. I have generated 5,120 some drawings.
Wow.
There were no pages yesterday in the New York Times. There were no pages today in the New York Times. But I was in New York last week for the whole week, so I got the newspaper every day and I tore out pages and brought them home. And I had 7 pages that I brought home, and then bingo on Sunday, the Sunday paper had 3. So I ended up doing 10 drawings on Monday just because it was a backlog. But at this point in time, to do 1 or 2 a day would be the norm. Still only 5 minutes per drawing. That's more than 10 minutes.
Well, it's wonderful.